all board members could take their seats, please, I'd appreciate it.
I just started myself. I got used to that.
And I would like to call our August 8th TCA Joint Board Meeting to order. And at this time, I would like to ask Director Beal if you would provide the invocation, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be followed by Director O'Neill. If we'd all please stand. Thank you.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for the opportunity to live in such a wonderful, beautiful place in Orange County. And we thank you as directors and staff members of the TCA for the great opportunity to serve the people of this region. Please inspire us and guide us to always act honestly, openly, in an effort to always make the wisest, best decisions for all the people of this region. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please place your hands over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
That would have been me.
At this time, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Chair Miniger,
Present.
Director Bain, Vice Chair Connors, Director Heft,
Here.
Director Munsing, Director O'Neill, Director Vixerick,
Here.
Director Beal,
Here.
Director Chafee, Director Ferguson,
Here.
Director Kring,
Here.
Director Miller, Director Murphy, Vice Chair Puckett, Director Kelly, Chair Shea,
Yes.
Director Wagner. We have quorum.
Thank you so much. Now, we, at this point in time, had thought we would take a picture of the board, but Mike, are we still have a few coming?
It's a few still coming, so why don't we go ahead with public comment and do it after that?
Okay, let's do it after public comments. That sounds great. So at this time, we will move to public comments. At this time, members of the public may address the boards regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the boards, but no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comment shall be limited to 2 minutes. Since we only have one speaker, we will allow you 3 minutes per person and for 1 hour for comments unless different time limits are set by the chair subject to the approval of the boards. If needed, additional public comments will be held before the closed session portion of the agenda during public comments, which is the continued part 2, and shall be limited to 2 minutes per person for comments unless different time limits are set by the chair subject to the approval of the board. So at this point in time, I have one speaker, Dave Sanyuski. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Welcome, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Hi.
My name's Dave Sarosky, and my horse's name is Ted. Good morning, board, and thank you for your service. The community and its many factions are excited by your work at the Saddle Club, aka Live Oak Stables. Knowing Leonard Schwinneman, and personally have spilled a bit of whiskey with him, we talked a bit about Tobacco Canyon. He told me his part in the property and the history of Tobacco Canyon. He and his father had a hand in the place for decades. The wells there were witched by them, and the water tank that stands there now was constructed by them, one of 2 left in the area. Yes, Ray Serrano, one of the Orange County's oldest cowboys, knew the place too. His daughter, Leonard's daughter, Kathy, told me the Cleveland National Forest firehouse, the first one, was right there on the property, right where the orchard stands now. But the Lord does not stop there. The age-old trail marked on Orange County maps, called the Coyote Connector Trail, runs through the property and has been traveled for decades, is now closed. Ted wants to get his hoofs on it, and so do a lot of his friends, so they look to that day. But there's one man to make proud. His name is Gale Hardin Harmon. There's a monument to him at the other end of O'Neill Park. They even named the end of the park after him. The inscription reads, "A native of Orange County, born near Santa Ana in 1903, who has devoted much of his time and energy to development of the equestrian facilities and furthering the equestrian cause. Orange County Board of Supervisors, August 28th, 1973, 46 years ago, just 21 days from now. Let's make him proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And will you please give my best to Ted Sarowski? And apologize, I mucked up your name. Well, this time it looks like we may have enough people to take a picture, so why don't we all go down in front? Is that what we're going to do it, Mike, right here in front? Okay, good. That'd be great. Okay, with that, we are going to be moving into San Joaquin Hills consent calendar, which are items 1 to 7. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by a roll call vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless board members request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion. Do any board members have an item to be pulled? Yes, Director Wagner.
The minutes, please.
Okay, minutes. Anyone else?
I make a motion for the remaining items.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? It's okay, so that's You're good with that. Okay, good. Okay, so with this, we'll turn to Director Wagner and your comments.
Brief point on the minutes. We had a very extensive discussion with respect to the Communications Lab contract. The committee told us that it will not go back out for a 27th amendment. This board discussed it, and nowhere in the minutes is it reflected that this is the last extension of this contract, and I think it should be reflected. We spoke to staff earlier on the subject. By earlier, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, and the response was, well, it's clear from the video, et cetera, that that was the action the board took. That, to me, is a reason to put it in. If it's clear that's the action the board took, the minutes ought to reflect the action the board took, as opposed to not reflecting the action the board took and leaving it to going back to the tape of what happened, which of course no one will ever do. And so my request would be to amend the minutes to put in writing, this will be the last extension of this contract, and there will be no further amendments to it without going out to rebid.
And I will second that motion if you're making the motion.
That would be my motion.
Okay, that's fine, yes. Well, I'm on
That's
San
on both.
Joaquin. I know,
It's on both.
and I'm on San Joaquin, so I made a second to it. Did you have a comment?
No, I
Director,
don't.
make-
Just
minute
for
ago.
the San Joaquin, I wanted to make the motion to.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry, would you rather make it? That's fine.
Yes, I'd
Okay,
like to
you
make
go
the
ahead and
motion.
make the motion, that's fine.
For the amendment proposed by Director Wagner.
Okay, so there is a motion and a second on the floor for the minutes for San Joaquin Hills. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. I abstain. Oh, you abstain? Okay. At this time, we'll go to Foothill Eastern consent calendar item. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by a one vote of each board for the applicable agency items. There will be no discussion of these items unless board members request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion. Are there any items that would be desirous to be pulled?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could you reflect the same change on the Foothill Eastern minutes as you just did on the San Joaquin?
Well, no, but I'm
Yes, let me
turning to
pull- let me- let
Director
me-
Wagner. Thank you.
Let,
I'll turn to
right,
Director Wagner.
let me, to be clear, make the same
wants to
motion
be
with
on the
respect to
record
these
for that,
minutes as
yeah.
well.
Okay, so there's a motion, in
And
this,
there was a second right here from
okay, you
Foothill
made a second,
Eastern.
okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, so we've gotten through our two consent calendars. Now we're going to be moving to board business. There's 3 items, 10 and 11 are joint items. Item 12 is just for Foothill Eastern. So at this time, I will turn to staff and to share with us what this item is, Customer Service Telephone System Maintenance and Support Contract.
Good morning. I'm Rick Carrier, the Director of Technical Systems, and the item before you is the Customer Service Telephone System Maintenance and Support Contract. For a little background information, the Customer Service Telephone System is the Genesis Pure Connect system that our customers use to contact our call center. Customers call the customer service number, and here are a list of menu options such as press 1 for account information or press 2 to make a payment. It functions as an extension of our customer service center and enables customers to perform self-service functions without having to talk to a customer service representative. But it's much more than just the menu options that they hear when they call. It's a very sophisticated system that routes calls to the correct CSR, and it's tightly integrated with the customer service database to display the correct customer information. We use the system for automatic callbacks when a customer doesn't want to wait in the queue for the next available CSR. It's used for automatic outbound call campaigns for things like low balance accounts or expiring credit cards. It tracks and routes customer service emails. It provides management reports and information about the customer interactions, and it's used for call recording and interaction analysis and our customer feedback surveys. The existing contract expires at the end of October. The bulk of this contract is for a firm to provide maintenance and support of the Genesis system, but it also includes a managed services component to help the agencies maximize the capabilities of this powerful tool. The scope of work is for a firm to provide the following services: 24-hour system monitoring and issue resolution per the service level agreements, daily system management and maintenance, applying applicable software patches and security updates. In addition, this contractor will analyze the existing licensing structure and recommend improvements that would result in cost savings and efficiency gains. And they'll analyze the entire system and provide recommendations for modifications, upgrades, and additional features that may increase the efficiency of the call center. TCA receives about 100,000 calls every month, and all these interactions are managed by this Genesys Pure Connect system. Over 90% of those calls end up going to the customer speaking with the CSR. As I mentioned, this is a very sophisticated system with a lot of capabilities. We want to make sure that we're using this powerful tool to its full potential, so we're looking for a partner who can help us maximize the capabilities of the Genesys Pure Connect system and make sure we're taking full advantage of all the features that this system has to offer to potentially increase the number of interactions that are handled by this system and not by a CSR. The request for proposals was released in March, and 14 firms expressed interest, but we only received one responsive proposal. Staff reached out to the firms that didn't propose to better understand why. The majority indicated that they were unable to provide the managed services component, which is a major factor in this procurement. The proposal we received from Avtech Solutions showed that they met or exceed all the requirements in the RFP. They have a large, experienced team located right here in Irvine. Avtech has been managing the Genesys Pure Connect system for multiple customers in various industries for over 20 years. They are a Genesys Gold partner. The reference checks of Avtech's other customers show that Avtech provides excellent, proactive support, and they are a highly experienced and innovative partner for the companies that they do support. As part of the due diligence in evaluating Avtech's proposal, I spoke with Ron Wolf at OCTA and also contacted the lead telecom engineer at the San Diego County Credit Union. Those conversations revealed that Avtech is providing exactly the kind of support and services that TCA is looking for. A true partner who proactively shares ideas and vision to help their customers be successful and utilize the many capabilities of the Genesys system to its full potential. Avtech is a full-service consultancy focused on helping organizations fuel exceptional customer experiences. In addition to supporting and maintaining the Genesys Pure Connect system, Avtech provides an end-to-end integrated customer experience portfolio that includes performing an analysis that fully documents the customer experience so the agencies can focus on the interactions that need the most attention and improvement. Additionally, Avtech will perform user experience evaluations that provide an objective assessment of the current state and provide actionable feedback for future state solutions with periodic follow-ups. Avtech also holds innovation workshops to keep the agencies abreast of functionality that's available to improve productivity and enhance the customer experience. Avtech provides exactly the type of service that staff is looking for: an experienced Genesys Pure Connect system maintainer that can maximize the capabilities of this system to efficiently and effectively engage our customers. Staff recommends awarding Avtech Solutions a 3-year time and materials contract in the amount of $313,998 for the San Joaquin Hills Agency and $301,685 for the Foothill Eastern Agency to manage and maintain the Genesys Pure Connect system. Additionally, staff recommends that the boards authorize the CEO to execute additional changes to the Avtech contract within 10% of the contract value for a total not to exceed cost of $677,000 spread over 3 years. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Rick, for your comprehensive update to us. This again is a joint discussion for all board members. So are there any questions or discussions? Yes, Director Wagner.
Yeah, thank you. And briefly, it looks like a good vendor. I'm not going to have a problem approving this, but I was struck by the 14-to-1 ratio of interest versus actual bids. Does that suggest anything? Maybe the RFP wasn't sufficiently narrowly drawn or clear as to what we were wanting. Somebody said clear over here. Or did we maybe not cast a wide enough net? Going forward, what do we do to make sure we don't have really that bit of an imbalance, and at the end of the process, really kind of just a limit to one choice, take it or leave it. What was that an anomaly? Tell me about that circumstance, because it just struck me as odd.
So this is a niche market. Genesis, the folks that sell this system, provide, they have partners that service the system, and there's a limited number of those. We reached out to those partners. The majority of those partners only service the system. They can't provide the managed services that we're looking for. They can't tell us, you need these additional features, or you should restructure the system that you have. All they do is they'll change our menu items, but they won't tell us, oh, if we say we want to, change the prompt for access your account, they'll make that change, but they won't tell us, oh, it should be third in the list, or it should be second, or you should go get voice recognition software. That's the part that the other Genesis partners couldn't provide.
Did we ever consider anything other than just a one-stop shop, meaning, okay, let's divide the services, one firm can handle this component and we'll get somebody else to handle a different component? Maybe we save money doing that, maybe we don't and it isn't worth doing, but was that ever considered, or was it just, we want all of these things, we want one vendor, and that's just the way it's got to be?
We're required to have a vendor provide support and maintenance for the software that we have from Genesis. Genesis requires that, and in addition, we need the managed services part. So if we had a provider just provide the support, they wouldn't make any money. The only way that Avtex is making money is on the managed services part. So splitting it up, we wouldn't get a vendor that could support the system.
Thank you for your comments. This is where it comes to, I think, and I'll just jump in because I have 3 other speakers, but where I think it's very advantageous that our committees, our following committees, have a short report that goes out to all the board members. I believe Director Heft brought this up at our last meeting. That way you would understand a little bit more detail about what we've done in committee. So I think that's important that we would, create that opportunity. Okay, with that, I have Director Bartlett, then Director Murphy, then Director Kelly.
Right, and I appreciate the great work that our committees do. And I think in the committee summary, the feedback indicated that the other firms were not prepared to provide the managed services portion of the network. So that was made really clear to us as to what happened with the 14 firms. But also when you're dealing with proprietary software, whoever the developer is and who maintains the software, they're not going to allow other firms to come in and other employees to come mucky around with their software. They've got liability issues, they've got exposure with the patents and copyrights and trademarks and that sort of thing. So it's really hard to get multitude of vendors when you're dealing with proprietary systems. And so it is kind of a one-stop shop, and we have to provide for the best vendor out there that can provide for the greatest amount of breadth of services that are needed for the scope of work. So thank you, staff, for doing a great job.
Thank you for your comments. At this time, I'll turn to Director Murphy, and then we'll go to Director Kelly.
Thank you. I won't belabor the other questions or comment, but the one thing I'm curious about is how are you measuring success on the consultancy? In other words, it's great, the glittering generalities. I mean, I joked with a couple of my friends, I'm in that line of work, and basically it sounds like you read my marketing slides for a half a dozen projects that I have. And I get it, everybody wants the same thing, but how do we know if we got it? Are we measuring on the basis of the amount of calls that don't have to be routed through to a live person? My guess is that's why we have automated software, but I don't want to plant seeds per se. I'm just curious how we're going to know if we got our money's worth.
That's exactly what we're going to do. We are looking to leverage this tool to take some of the burden off the 140 folks that are sitting downstairs answering the phone. And that's going to be the measurement for success.
So are we looking to double the number? Have we quantified it? In other words, because I'm one of the old school guys. If I don't know what my quote is, I don't know if I'm going to make bonus.
We have not quantified it based on.
Here's somebody that's going to quantify it. Why?
No, Director. So exactly what Mr. Carrier was sharing is what we're looking to do. So our key measurement for this consultant is are they giving us advice on how to get additional value from this investment? And to respond to Supervisor Wagner's question as well, one of the challenges we have is the majority of this of the dollar value in this contract is pass-through money that they just
Right.
have to hand off
No,
to
I get it.
Genesis.
I get
So
it.
we're locked in that part. So the amount of money that's there to be made is very small. So that doesn't generate a lot of interest, but we're going to be focusing on that small amount to still get big value from the system. A key measurement we've looked at is the customer's use of our automated system. It's only about 1% of what we like to see. So even if we only get to 2%, we're still doubling that.
100%.
100% increase. So we're going to be looking at all those measures. It might not just be in the IVR system, but with other tools that help us manage the work and do things more efficiently.
Yeah, I just like to encourage, and I'm sure you were already probably doing it, but contracts that are just time and materials are really easy to burn through. And folks will do that unless they're given some specific measures so that they'll know whether or not they have any opportunity for growth. And I would just say that it needs to be quantified from the get-go. The first time you sit down with whomever these folks are, these experts, you know, I'd set goals like that. And maybe they're easy to get to because we're so low on the totem pole right now. I don't know. But I mean, I understand this business a little bit, right? I've done this once or twice, and it just seems to me without that, you're going to suddenly, gosh, we've run through all our hours. Do you want to buy some more?
Agreed.
Is the risk factor. So anyway, enough said. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are you finished with your comments, Director Murphy? Okay, we'll turn to Director Kelly, then Director Heft.
Yes, thank you. And I did sit in on the committee meeting on this, so we did take a little deeper dive into this. But I also was disappointed to see 14 bids then reduced to just one. But in looking at the proposal evaluation in the scorecard, they really did rate with excellent scores. I think it was a good, smart move that you made in checking with the other companies and organizations that are using this firm. And again, on that, nature and quality of work completed for other clients, 10s all the way across. So that was great. I also think it's important that they do have a local office here in Irvine in addition to their headquarters in Minneapolis. So I am comfortable with this. Again, disappointed with only one vendor, but it's such a specialized, unique job that we're asking for, and what we have here is quite unique. So I think it will be a good fit, and I'm confident that it will go well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Director Kelly. Now we'll turn to Director Heft.
Yes, I would echo what Director Kelly said. It is something that we looked at, and the numbers were just really, really good for Avitex, and we liked that. They seem to have just very high scores. And one of the things that we were told during the meeting was that the system we have right now, and I just wanted to point this out for purposes of clarification, is very robust. It has a lot of capabilities, and we do need some sort of a partner like this to help us bring out those abilities, so we're using our system to its full potential. And I think regardless of what decision would be made, I think it's very important to be able to have some sort of consultant who is going to make sure that we're not just using part of the system, but we're using everything we can and getting every dollar out of it.
Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions? Okay, at this time, because it is a joint action, I will entertain a motion from San Joaquin Hills, a motion and a second.
I move it.
There's a motion?
Second.
And there's a second by Director Kelly. Is there a motion from Foothill Eastern? Oh, okay, so you, Director Crean did, and we'll take a second from Director Voits. Any further discussion on the item? All in favor? Aye. Any in opposition? Thank you. Okay, we have two more items, and these are, item 11 is a joint item, but it's a presentation only. We'll not have an action on this, and then we'll move to item 12, which is Foothill only. So staff, welcome.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Darren Martin. I'm the manager of Treasury Operations here at TCA. With me today is Jason Schmidt. He's the Executive Vice President at Chandler Asset Management, which is the agency's investment advisor. And Jason's going to be presenting the annual investment performance, which was previously delivered to the Joint Finance and Investment Committee back on July 24th. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the investment portfolio. Maybe if we dare dive in a little bit to what's going on in the financial markets recently, given some of the volatility there. And so I'll start off on the first page here. Just talking about the strategies, a summary of what happened in fiscal year 19. The agencies have a combined portfolio of about $1.44 billion, and the total dollars in interest is about $23.6 million of interest. That's almost double what it was in FY 2018, which was $12.4 million. How we've achieved that is really looking at opportunities that are in the marketplace. Some of those opportunities were investing in safe, high-quality, non-government securities, and also looking at different types of investment pools where we're able to eke out more yield or more earnings for the portfolio. The other item to think about is also the total return of the portfolio. And so we've exceeded our benchmarks for June 30, 2019 for both agencies, and we'll show a little bit more detail of that as we move forward in the presentation. Looking at our philosophy, so remember, it's safety, liquidity, and finally return. Those are really the investment philosophy of the investment portfolio. And in general, when you think about the investable universe of the agency, it is in very high quality bonds, and that's so what the portfolio owns in the portfolio. The portfolio needs to provide the amount of liquidity needed for the agency to continue to achieve its goals. Also, we use a very disciplined approach, meaning we're not chasing markets, in order to really get these returns. We really have a really disciplined approach that we follow on an ongoing basis. And then we really invest in instruments that also enhance diversification and potential return. Diversification meaning safety of the portfolio. And then also looking at maybe potentially transitioning the portfolios in the future. We're still in a relatively low interest rate environment. And so we have a relatively duration that we think that fits right now for the agency and the overall market environment. But in the future, potentially looking to increase the duration if we could increase earnings at the same time. And then also balancing risk and return, of course, is our primary goal, looking to make sure that we're taking an appropriate amount of risk in the portfolio, but also having that adequate returns for you guys to achieve your goals. Let's talk a little bit about Foothill Eastern. And so a couple of things that really proved successful during the fiscal year is that we got some higher interest rates early on in the year. And so interest rates, I think, topped out on 2-year U.S. Treasury notes about 3%. And so we were investing in that environment. Also, we were looking at potentially longer-term securities to protect the portfolio against declining interest rates. And so I'll talk a little bit later about the strategies, but we invoked a barbell strategy where we had securities in the shorter end and also in the longer end, where the shorter end had higher yields, but the longer end was really helping us to protect the portfolio against lower interest rates, which has bode very well, especially in the environment that we've had more recently. We increased the unrestricted reserves book yield from 2.05 to 2.56 during that period of time. Also, we increased the indentured reserves from 1.74 to 2.10. The yield increased to over that period of time. Also, when we look at total return of the portfolio, remember, as bonds fall, as yields fall, bond prices go higher. And so our total return for the year is really good. Looking at the cash flow, including unrestricted reserves, that portfolio was up 3.03%. And then looking at the indentured reserves portfolio, that portfolio was up 4.03%, which was about 7 basis points above its benchmark. So performing very well in the environment that we have. And then looking how the portfolio is structured, what we're looking at as far as the different accounts and where the actual dollars are positioned here. The total portfolio is about $768 million. And so we really have that allocated into different styles, and those styles really are predicated on the source and use of those funds. So we have the indentured reserves, which makes up about $243 million, cash flow including unrestricted reserves, which is about $423 million. Then we have the non-indentured restricted reserves, which is 15, the enterprise funds, which is about 28 million, and then current debt service, which is $58 million. One reminder there is that current debt service, remember we pay debt service, or the agency pays debt service on January and July. So, and 6/30 is really that highest point for that particular piece of the portfolio. Now let's talk about San Joaquin Hills. So a similar story, really looking at focusing on, having both those higher yields helped out during the year and also protecting the portfolio against declining interest rates, which has really come to fruition more recently. The yield of that portfolio increased from 2% to 2.4% on the cash flow, including unrestricted reserves, and then the indentured funds increased from 1.84 to 2.23% over that period of time. Also, looking at total returns or performance, you can see that those were very good too. Looking at cash flow, including unrestricted reserves, that portfolio increased by 3.4% over that period of time. And then also the indentured reserves, that portfolio increased by 4.26%, which was about 30 basis points or 0.3% above its benchmark. So doing very well. Here you can see how that portfolio is structured. And so you can see that that portfolio is around $700 million. You can see that enterprise funds make about $20 million. Current debt service makes up about $35 million. Indentured reserves makes up about $90 million. Then you have the cash flow, including unrestricted reserves, is about $231 million. Long-term debt service is $108 million. And then on indentured restricted funds is about $15 million. So really positioning those portfolios in order to achieve the goals of the agencies. And then looking at the economy, brief overview. So the Federal Reserve decreased rates at its last meeting on July 31st. It decreased those by 1/4 point or 25 basis points. The federal funds rate is now between 2 and 2.25%. And the Federal Reserve did that for a couple of different reasons. One is inflation remains relatively muted, so they're not really worried too much about inflation at this time. And also they're looking at global headwinds, i.e. that in the global economy with some of the trade disputes that are going on, in particular between the U.S. and China, they're really worried about that. And in so doing, they're looking at almost what they called an insurance cut, and essentially looking at this federal funds rate as a bit of insurance against some of the global decline that's been happening. We'll see how that comes around or how that comes to fruition, but it's definitely something that we're watching very closely. Also, the market is indicating to us that the Fed also may lower interest rates again this year by at least 25 basis points. And so one of the positions that we've taken in the portfolio more recently is to buy some of these longer term securities in order to protect that or lock in those different interest rates. And so that's some of the results that you're seeing today in the portfolio. The job market remains really good. You have non-farm payrolls. We're up about 164,000. That was in July. The unemployment rate is all the way down to 3.7%. We're talking about 50 years lows here in the unemployment rate. And so the job market really remains in the United States really robust and really healthy. That's one of the indicators we continue to watch, because if that were to weaken, definitely the Federal Reserve may change its stance and may start to decrease interest rates more than it has. But that market has really been very robust in the most recent data. Looking at economic growth, we now have the second quarter of GDP in the United States that came in at an annualized rate of 2.1%. Overall, the economy is expected to grow in 2019 around 2.5%. That's below its 2018 level, which was 2.9%. In general, the theme today, if you think about the U.S. economy, recession is really not something that is very probable given over the next 6 months or maybe even a year, but we are seeing a theme that the economy is slowing down, and most of us in business are continuing to see that. Also, if you look at the inflation front, really the Federal Reserve looks at what they call the personal consumption expenditures as a national average of inflation. That's at 1.6% year over year. And actually, if you showed a graph of that, you'd see that was declining over this period of time. And so with that, one of the reasons that they basically said in their statement and also in their press conference why they lowered rates is because they're not meeting their inflation target. And their inflation target for this particular indicator is 2%. And so they said that they had the ability to lower rates and in particular continue to keep on this expansion in the United States. If you think about it, this expansion now has been 10 years. It's the longest U.S. expansion of the economy in the post-World War era. And so they want to continue that to happen, and that's why they have lower rates. We will continue to monitor these situations and definitely share them with staff and our viewpoint. Looking at what we're going to look at in the strategies moving forward. We have a disciplined approach. So the duration, meaning duration is your portfolio sensitivity to interest rates. We're going to be between 90 to 100% of our benchmark. So continue on with that strategy. Also, we're looking to bias our portfolios towards that upper end, given that we have an interest rate environment now that is declining. So in declining interest rates, you want to own those longer term securities. Also, we'll continue to have a diversified approach to the portfolio in order to reduce risk, basically using all the tools in our toolbox available in the investment policy in order to help us achieve the goals of the agencies. And then finally, looking to optimize the portfolio across the yield curve. So looking to what I talked about before is barbell the portfolio relative to the benchmark, have more securities in the front end where yields in particular are a little bit higher, and also have yields in the back or securities in the back end in order to facilitate if we were to have an interest rate drop, which we have more recently, to have some insurance, basically lock in some of those higher rates, also get those returns that we spoke about before in the portfolio. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate that. Our committee really enjoyed the presentation as well. Director Miller, as the chair of the finance, did you want to make any comments? And then if not, I'll open it up to comments from board members.
Well, one of the conversations we're having in the finance committee is we need to create some policies around our unrestricted reserves to help increase our bond ratings. And that's something that the committee's going over right now. And it's in the very preliminary stages on where we want to set our reserve policies, what we're going to actually, how we're going to allocate these funds. Our bondholders want to know what we're doing with this cash, and we need to have some policies in place to let them know what's going on. So as we come forward and we go down that path and we start solidifying what these policies are going to look like, we'll start reporting out on that a little bit more.
Great, thanks for
regularly.
that update. So are any questions of? Okay, with that, we'll move forward. Oh, yes, Director Kelly.
Sorry, I just noticed this on the slide with the economic highlights. The bullet under economic growth.
There it is.
In our packet, it has that 2.1%. In our packet, it says 3.1%. Is that which? Did it change or?
Right. So in your packet, it probably says Q1, which was the first quarter. And
Yes,
so we
I
have
get
is
it.
we have
Okay.
more recent economic
Okay,
data, so we
this
wanted
is
to provide that for the committee.
This is an update. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, if there's no questions, then we don't need an action on this item, so we'll move to item 12, which is Foothill only item, and call up staff. And this, again, is a presentation. There will be no action required.
Yes, thank you. So today I'd like to update you on the results of the Foothill Eastern term rate bond remarketing that the Foothill Eastern Board approved in June. And so just to remind you, these bonds were callable on July 15th. And so we were prepared to enter the market at that time. We priced the bonds on July 16th and we closed the transaction on July 18th. We were able to get a very favorable long-term interest rate of 3.5%. So basically we locked it in all the way through the final maturity of those bonds, which is 2053, which will save us $1.9 million every year through that period. We had great investor response. We had orders of $302 million on our $125 million that we offered. And some of those were retail investors, so individuals, and some of them were located here in Orange County. Also, we think that what helped contribute to this very low interest rate that we were able to achieve is the fact that we have been upgraded several times over the last few years, so that always helps with what we're able to do in reducing the amount that we have to pay. And so you've seen this many times. This is the debt structure for Foothill Eastern, all of the interest and principal payments that we will make every year. And so all the way to the right, you see the 3 sub-series of term rate bonds. In 2017, we remarketed the first series and we were able to lock in 3.95%, which saved us $1.3 million every year. And then with this transaction, as I just mentioned, the result you see here is that all of those numbers came down by $1.9 million. So as part of our process, we visit the rating agencies. We were able to get these bonds rated prior to entering the market. And with Moody's, we were actually upgraded to Baa2. And for S&P and for Fitch, they affirmed the current ratings. Also, as part of this process, I think what contributes to the success that we have in the market is that we meet with investors on a regular basis. There are various investor conferences where we can make presentations and have one-on-one meetings. Plus, we've had a number of investors interested in coming out and visiting our agencies, and we'll take them out on the roads and drive them around and show them the roads and the development in the area. And so here's just the results of how we price the bonds. As I mentioned, we received over 300 million in orders for our 125 million that we offered, and that's the kind of the spread there. And so overall, I think it was a very successful transaction, lowest rate that we've been able to get on any of our long-term bonds, which will save us some money. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so very much. Are there any questions or comments from Foothill? Okay, with that, thank you so much, Amy. We really appreciate it. This is great news for the agency. We're so pleased that we're moving in a very positive direction here. With that, that is item 12, our last item. We're going to move now to public comments. Did we get another public comment? Do we have anybody else that wanted to speak?
No, we don't.
Okay. With that, I will now turn to Chief Executive Officer's report. I think you had a fire presentation and some other comments to be made.
Yes.
Thank you.
Couple of items. So the first is just to remind everybody that going forward, based on the items we have coming to the board, the September meeting, we will be dark in September. In October, we will have a Foothill Eastern only board meeting that'll focus on the South County Traffic Relief Effort project. And then we will have our next joint meeting in November. And then the second item is Supervisor Wagner, thank you, provided an inquiry about the fire preparedness of the agency and the roads, which as we're going into fire season is a concern that we all have. So I have Valerie McFall to make a presentation to you about that. And we also have Dina El Tawase from Caltrans, who is here if we have questions of Caltrans.
And both agencies that use goats for fire prevention. So that's very good.
All right, good morning, directors. Again, Valerie McFall, Chief Environmental Planning Officer for the agencies. And this report, again, is in response to Director Wagner's requests for information on what the agencies are doing to clear combustible vegetation along the toll roads. First and foremost, the primary action is to mow the roadside edges. The mowing reduces the flashy fuels that tend to grow up along those the toll roads. So this is an example of Caltrans. Actually, they were out there yesterday performing some of the mowing to complete those reductions of fuel. They also mow the medians. As you know, we have large strips of medians in the middle of our toll roads. Caltrans also actively mows those areas on an annual basis and sometimes more on one occasion. In addition to the mowing, there is roadside hardening, and that is where Caltrans has laid gravel or other materials adjacent to the shoulder. And that, again, helps combat the flashy fuels, the grasses that will come up. And so that reduces the need for ongoing active maintenance of those areas. Simultaneous to this, Caltrans does have an action plan specifically for the toll roads. Each year they prioritize the work to be done with the 241 as the highest priority, followed by the 261, the 73, and then the 133. They rank that priority based on the residences that are adjacent to some of the open space. That is always their first and foremost place to do any type of work. They are planning to prepare or complete all the vegetation mowing and fuel reduction by September, which is prior to the typical red flag season that begins. And then also they're exploring the use of obtaining larger mowers. Again, a lot of our medians are very wide, so they're going to look to getting larger equipment so they can get the mowing completed at a faster rate. And then if they need to go back there also, they'll have the equipment. So again, they're out there now and they're looking to complete the work prior to the Santa Ana season coming up. In addition to this, Caltrans actively participated with the OCFA to prepare a fire management plan and identify protocols that Caltrans needs to use as far as when they can set flares off, timing for when it's appropriate to go out there and mow so it's not a red flag event, and then having maps of areas that are more sensitive than others, maybe due to past fire incidents, and the best path to approach those areas to prepare the mowing. So beyond the roadside activities, the mowing and the hardening, there are all sorts of other collaborative type of efforts that are occurring, predominantly with COAST, which is the County of Orange Area Strategic Task Force that's being led by primarily OCFA, which is also a very large organization that includes Irving Ranch Conservancy, Caltrans, the County of Orange, so a whole stakeholder of partners. So all of these activities to reduce fuel are done in a collaborative and coordinated fashion. Part of that, we've developed for the county a community wildfire protection plan, and this actually allows the county to apply for grants to bring money back here to Orange County to, again, put measures in place to reduce the likelihood of fire. Also working with the Natural Communities Coalition. They are the management entity that oversees the 38,000 plus acres of open space that goes from the Pacific Ocean to the 91 freeway. So again, another coordinated effort of landowners and managers that work on different activities to make sure we can pull our resources to reduce likelihood of fires. If I could, one of the outcomes is inserting or installing cameras along peak areas. So I have a hyperlink I just wanted to show you. And this was a result of the collaboration. So this is a real-time live camera feed. This one here, I believe, is Signal Peak out in Saddleback Canyons. On the right side of the screen are those blue arrows. That is where the cameras are located throughout the county. So this was done with OCFA and SC&E. And again, all the other partner agencies have full access to this. And this has allowed OCFA and others to be able to react quickly to reduce fires before they spread too quickly. So this has been a really outcome of a strong collaboration with all the partners. Additionally, fire watch patrols have been implemented. You'll see those on occasion on the 133, 241 toll roads. They also use our overhead gantry signs to let people know when there's a red flag event so they can be more cautious, and then also know who to contact in case they see a roadside ignition. Through the COAST program, there's been grants that have been received. We're looking at doing restoration of cactus along the roadways. That promotes defensible space for OCFA. And then also receiving grants to reduce hazardous fuels. For example, the shot hole borer that's infesting a lot of the trees throughout the county, that's creating a lot of hazardous materials. And so a grant's been received here into the county to go through and treat and remove some of those infested areas. One of the most recent projects completed this week along the 241 toll road with OCFA is a strategic fuel break. It's along Loma Ridge, which is a section between the 133 and the 261 toll road. And it's the area highlighted in red there, and that's a main access path that OCFA and other response crews use in case there's an incident. And you can see the before and then the afters. They went through and made that pathway much wider so they can get equipment through and crews in case of an incident that occurs. And again, here before and after, you can see how tight it is on the left bottom photo for just a small fire truck to get through. And then after the fact, how much wider it is to get full-size vehicles. And again, all the crews that need to be on the lines when there's a fire. In addition to just the stakeholders partnering and Caltrans performing work on the toll roads, a big part of this outreach is educating the residents, especially residents that live adjacent to the wildland areas. So this is a brochure that was put together by the Natural Communities Coalition. It goes out to every homeowner in the city of Irvine, people that buy homes. And it's really a good tool to teach people like how to plant materials that butt up next to open space areas, how to do field modification. So it's a robust effort to minimize fuel And again, working with Caltrans to ensure that all the areas are completed by the fire season this year, continuing with the multi-agency collaboration with OCFA and all the other partners, including the universities, and then still seeking grants to implement other projects, road hardening, pilot programs to reduce fuel, educating the residents, and then other opportunities. As CEO Crane mentioned, I do have Dina Altawazi. She's the Caltrans Deputy Director for Maintenance Operations, and she oversees the implementation of the fuel activities, fuel reduction activities on the toll roads. So she's happy to answer any questions if need be.
Thank you. Welcome. Anybody have any questions? It was good report. I appreciate it. I know we had an update at City Hall at Quail Hill. We had our fire department come out, OCFA, and we had all of our goats out in the field because we're going to start implementing them out there to take down the. We love goats. I think goats should be our mascot. Just saying. Well, I feel very bad for you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Director Kelly.
Yes, just a quick question. Do we partner or outreach at all with the Amateur Radio Association, SORA? Do we have any kind of a partnership with them?
We have IDEC in Irvine that's do amateur radio, and they do all kinds of.
That is a good point. We have not yet, but I can follow up and provide an update to the environmental committee at the next meeting and the board.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda. That's a good idea.
And I would love to connect you because we have a real active group in Mission Viejo, and they just had a field day a month or so ago, 24 hours out on the one of our baseball fields, and it's just so interesting to go and see what they do, see them in action, and many of them are also Fire Watch volunteers. But if we ever had a major incident, major fire, major earthquake or whatever, we'd lose all communication. So I know the city of Mission Viejo sees them as an asset, and we do partner with them and help to provide some funding. So I would love to connect you if possible.
That'd be great. Thank you.
That's a very good point. I think that's good to put on our environmental committee. Yes, Director
And just for
Boyd.
your information, that's RACES. RACES is the one that does the amateur.
RACES,
Yeah,
okay.
RACES.
There's
Any
also
other
SORA,
questions?
SOARA.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you, Director Wagner, for requesting that. That's very nice. Okay, so we'll move to director reports. I know Director Miller wanted to share a thought, and then we'll move to Director Wagner has something to share
Thank
with
you,
us.
Madam Chair. At first, I've got a statement to read. I've been thinking about this for a while, watching what's going on with South County traffic, so I'm just going to read my statement. I first want to acknowledge all the hard work that our staff and CEO, and especially the communities, put in over the past few years with the South County traffic relief effort, and the tremendous effort that has been expanded, evaluating a large number of ideas over this time. However, at this point, and given the concerns that I've heard over these past few years, I feel that what I refer to as Alternative 22 or the Los Patronos extension is a potential solution that should be seriously considered as this agency, along with Caltrans, continues to look for solutions that will relieve the most amount of traffic with the least amount of community impact, particularly in to our neighbors in San Juan Capistrano, Rancho Mission Viejo, and San Clemente, but at the same time providing badly needed resiliency for South County and increasing southern access for our neighbors to the north in Mission Viejo, Lake Forest, and Rancho Santa Margarita. Alternative 22, which extends the current Los Patronos Parkway in a southeasterly direction behind the Prima landfill, and ties into and ends at La Pata, is a very strong solution with little or no impact to the surrounding communities. It also creates access to Rancho Mission Viejo Planning Area 2, 3, and 5, and we need to be forward-thinking and provide this access now, instead of waiting for the area to be built out and find ourselves in the same situation we're currently in, trying to identify an acceptable route for needed infrastructure in a built-out area. With continued design, it may even be possible to move the connection to La Pata approximately 1,000 feet to the north and keep it completely out of the city of San Clemente. I'm aware that this will impact the southern end of the county landfill, but with the changes in waste legislation requiring all green and recyclable materials to be diverted to other facilities, it would appear this would create a minimal impact to the needed capacity. It would also provide an alternative for those who would otherwise want to travel I-5 or other local arterials. It would deliver more cars to the 241 at Oso and strengthen our ridership. But more importantly, it won't impact the community as greatly as some of the other alternatives that have been suggested for consideration. As we enter the draft EIR phase of the program, we need to be considerate of the case of Washoe Meadows Community versus the Department of Parks and Recreation decision from November 2017. It clearly states in Section 8 Environmental Law, and I quote here, "A draft environmental impact report, EIR, that states the environmental proposed project will be somewhere in a reasonable range of alternatives is not describing a stable proposed project as required by California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, since range of alternatives cannot be a stable proposed project," end quote. It further states in Section 9, Courts and Environmental Law, I quote this again, "While cases interpreting National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, NEPA, can be persuasive authority for interpreting California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, California courts will not follow NEPA precedent that is contrary to CEQA, National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, end quote. In short, the Washoe Meadows case requires public agencies to declare what the proposed project is from the outset of the environmental review process so that public can be adequately informed and so there can be meaningful public participation. I understand that this alternative needs to be studied, and I'm not making any predeterminations for environmental review purposes, but I strongly believe that if this alignment is studied, it will show persuasive results in terms of our ultimate goal of alleviating traffic in South Orange County while also minimizing community impact. I also believe Alternative 22 can be completed at a fraction of the cost of some of the other alignments while greatly increasing the ridership to our program. Thank you.
With that, I'll turn to Director Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And news is getting around this board and around the county. I have the sad opportunity of confirming that our Auditor Controller, Eric Woolery, passed away recently, last night or early this morning. And I mention that to ask this board adjourn in his memory. Eric was obviously a friend to many of us and a great public servant. He began his career in this county on the Orange County Board of Education, where he worked diligently in the education field. He was a resident of Orange, served as the Orange treasurer and then the county auditor controller for the last 4 or 5 years, recently winning a resounding reelection in November. It is a big loss to the county. It is a big loss to the citizens of Orange County, and I could not let this meeting pass without asking that we all keep his wife Lisa and family in our thoughts and prayers, and that this board adjourn in the memory of a wonderful friend and public servant, Eric Woolery. Thank you,
Thank you so much, Director Wagner. My heart's broken. Anthony Quo, my Mayor Pro Tem, he works in his office, so it's very sad. So we will turn to Lisa Bartlett, and then we'll go to adjournment, and I will ask to be adjourned in his memory. Yes, Lisa.
Well, it's so eloquently stated by Director Wagner. I just had the same comments as well, to adjourn in memory of our auditor controller that passed. We don't know if it was last night or this morning, but it's a very sad day for the county and for the residents of the county. Thank you.
He was a wonderful man. Are there any other comments from directors? Yes.
Mine's not so much a comment, but I was wondering if I could ask staff a question just for informative purposes. Versus, it's about, and you know, I agree with Director Wagner and Bartlett about our auditor controller. That is very sad. I didn't want to overstep that, but now I just feel awkward stepping away from that into diving back into toll road business. But I had a question over just what kind of how does it for our fire and police and any state vehicles that are on our toll roads? The reason I'm asking is because back in June, our school police in Santa Ana were doing a investigation that had to do with some South County adults and kids in our school district, and our police officers took the toll road, and there was I guess a fine that they in their police vehicles that they couldn't seem to make go away, or it just kept duplicating and doubling and doubling and doubling. And they reached out to me for help. I was like, call them.
Between you and your brother in the police department,
I
we've
know.
got big problems in your
That's why I'm like,
city.
I'm the ticket guy apparently.
Maybe can staff answer that, or at least look into it? Maybe you
Yeah.
can meet with Director Penaloza
Yeah.
after and get
We'd
the
be
information.
happy to do that, that it's covered by the motor vehicle code, discusses that in emergency vehicles in response, in doing their business are,
Exempt, right?
the tolls are waived and they just provide it. Most of all of our, like the county and everybody else, they basically have fleet accounts with us, and then we issue that to them, and then they go review their accounts for what was on official business in response versus otherwise. But just if you work with Samuel, we can
Will
think of
do.
that.
Thank you.
They're don't have to pay a toll when they're doing their official business.
Okay.
We'll make
Appreciate
sure
that.
we take care of it, and they're going to like you after that, right?
I know. Yeah.
Okay. So at this
Madam
time,
Chair.
oh, yes, Director Kelly.
Sorry. Just really quick, we had 2 excellent reports today that we just all kind of sat and took it in. And I just wanted to give a shout out and a kudos to Chandler and our finance team when we just learned that we doubled our returns from 12 million to almost 24 million. Wow, that's great. And then Amy Potter, wow. I mean, refunding those bonds saves $1.9 million a year. And with our upgraded ratings and everything, I think we just really need to let our people know, our staff know, our coworkers know that we appreciate you. And 2 just really, really excellent pieces of good news that we got today. So thank you.
That's a very good point. I agree with that completely. So thanks to our staff for all your hard work. We really appreciate it. So at this time, with deep sadness, we will adjourn. If there's no other comments, we will adjourn our board meeting today in memory of a wonderful man, our audit controller, Eric Woolery. So is there motion to adjourn? I'm sorry.
We do have a closed session for the
Oh,
Foothill
I'm
Eastern.
sorry. Yes. Okay, so we need you to announce that, and then I'll go back to that. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Foothill Eastern Agency will be conferring with legal counsel under Government Code Section 54956.9, subdivisions A and D1 regarding the 2 matters listed on the agenda. We do not anticipate reportable action.
Okay, thank you. So we will be adjourning once again in memory of Audit Controller Eric Woolery. So can I turn to our council, and are there any reportable actions?
No reportable action, Madam Chair.
Okay, with that, then we will adjourn our meeting. We have Foothill Eastern will adjourn to be held October 10th, 2019. And the both joint board meetings will be held November 14th, 2019 at 9:30. Thank you.